This video contains massive spoilers about the book we are reviewing, and will ruin the story for anyone that would like to read it for themselves. If you would still like to watch and/or listen to this review, keep in mind that it does not directly relate to a movie or TV adaptation, although comparisons might be made. Please, feel free to comment about any topics we do or do not cover in this review in the comment section below, or on our Goodreads group, link in the description below. But let it be known that any information referring to scenes in any other books of this series, or any books from any other series, will be considered invalid and deleted as soon as possible.
Hey everybody, AwesomeMattG here, and today we're going to get the book club started for its first book with The Hunger Games, which is also the first book in the series The Hunger Games, by Suzanne Collins. And I'm going to be joined today by Capricious.
Hello everyone.
She and I both read the book a few months back now, I'm guessing. So, we're basically, what we're going to do in this series, since this is the first video of the series, is we're going to give just some generic overview of what we thought about the book, what we thought about certain themes, particular scenes, characters, stuff like that. Give our opinions on stuff. Feel free to disagree with us in the comments below. Just keep the discussion civilized. Also, you can go to our Goodreads group and have discussions there as well, since the YouTube comment section's a little weird right now. Yeah, that's a little bit of an understatement. But also, if you find other things that we didn't bring up, topics or themes or anything we didn't talk about in this video, let us know. We're more than willing to have discussions in the comments with you guys as well.
Yep.
So, where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with the book as a whole.
Okay.
The actual book, and talk about the writing.
Sure. The style of writing?
Style of writing, yes. Very different than a lot of books.
I really loved the style of writing because, to me, it was very... I mean, for those of you who don't know...
Suzanne Collins has a background in television writing and playwriting.
Yeah, exactly.
And the style of this book is very reminiscent of a play. It has 3 acts.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part. I mean, it's broken up that way in the book. You have part 1, part 2, and part 3.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of discussion about the fact that, you know, in plays and even in television, character development isn't done separately from the actual pacing of the story. Everything happens simultaneously. And that definitely happens in this book. You're not necessarily introduced to a character and have the time taken to be like, this is Katniss, and this is what her life is like. And
yeah, they basically, they throw you in head first into the whole story. They're just kind of like, world!
But I love that, and I don't think it in any way for me detracted from the story or visualizing the world or the people. Everything felt so incredibly detailed without having it all...
Without having it George R.R. Martin.
Right, without it being like...
Don't get me wrong,
you know.
I for those of you who follow me on Twitter and stuff, you know how much I love the Game of Thrones books, but you got to admit, I mean, he can ramble on for a while. So, I mean, to read a book written by Suzanne Collins and have it flow, I mean, she doesn't ramble on for very long at all. Actually, sometimes you think to yourself, she didn't talk about a particular subject very long, but that incredibly short period of time, at least I found myself thinking, that is exactly the amount of time I needed to completely grasp this concept.
Yeah. To visualize it, to picture the characters in it, to see how it affects the world, you know, and I think that was just so great. And I think that's also helped me in just sort of devouring the book so quickly. I mean, these were for me very quick and easy reads.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because it was, you know, the Twilight series gets a lot of flack for being a series that's quote-unquote easy to read because the writing is bad. And you're like, well, of course you can read it easily. It's, you know, an elementary school type level. And even though this is a young adult book, so it's meant for a younger audience, I don't feel as an adult reading it that it wasn't...
It was written in such a way that, let's say, middle school age kids, so the kids from the age of like 12 to 15 or so,
right.
Can easily grasp the book, but it also wasn't written so easily that adults would find the book boring or
right.
or disinteresting or anything like
right. And I think that's just great. I really loved the writing style. I loved the pacing. I just think that overall, the book is just, it's a really good book.
It was excellent.
I really did like it a lot.
Yeah. I completely agree with you on that, Mark.
So, now what to jump into. Just to interject, we said this is our first time doing this. It's going to be a little clunky.
Yeah.
Forgive us for this. We do have, I've made up it's a Word document that has
like an outline.
Yeah, basically a rough outline. So if you hear clicking or scrolling or pauses, we might be reading to remember.
Like, what were we going to talk about? Just kidding.
Let's take some time to talk about the themes of the book rather than specific like characters or details or scenes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, do you want me to start?
Well, the first big one I'd like to go over is like the difference between the citizens.
Class inequity.
Yeah, inequality. Yeah.
Inequity, yes, inequality, my bad.
But I mean, you've got like, obviously you've got the people in the districts who, for the most part, are, you know, dirt farmers, basically, for lack of a better phrase.
Well, yeah, especially depending, the more outlying the district, I mean, you get a very good view of District 12, obviously, because that's where Katniss lives. And
and you get a decent view of District 11 to find out that it's
very similar.
In some ways it's very similar, and in some ways it's actually worse.
Right. So you have this notion that life in the districts is not great.
It's not fun at all, in the slightest.
Yeah, and of course each district is divided into its own industry, and one of the things that makes things difficult is you're stuck there. You don't have the ability to go, well, you know, I'm a coal miner, I want to become this and go to somewhere else.
Yeah, I prefer to be a fisherman.
Right. You don't have that. You were born a coal miner, you will die a coal miner. Your family will be a coal mining family.
Yeah, there is no occupational desires.
No.
You're a coal miner. I mean, granted, in District 12 you had bakers and you had doctors and things like that.
And you're going to have that in every district.
But the vast majority of the population has to do coal mining.
But then at the same time, even though you have, you know, the baker's family, that family, no one else is really going to come in and become a baker's family.
Oh, no. You know, that's the only baker in
the
district.
Peeta will have children and his, you know, or he should have children, and his children would become bakers and their children and their children.
Yeah, because at that point you want to keep that occupation in the family because it's not coal mining.
And you're really stuck in your roles. There's not any kind of room for mobility within the districts.
There's no freedom.
No.
I mean, you say there's no freedom. Obviously, there's no freedom, but I mean, there's no freedom in the sense of like freedom to choose what you do for a living.
Right.
Freedom to choose, you know, your level of education. They get a certain amount of education, but at a certain point, they're like, go hit rocks with
a lot of it's skewed
hammers.
to learning, you know,
how to mine.
Right.
Exactly.
Learning the trade. And then you have that contrasted by the Capitol.
Oh God! Everybody just looks ridiculous. Oh,
it's
even to today's
glaring,
standards.
Yeah, it really.
I mean,
really is.
You think about people nowadays that look ridiculous that have, who's that one rapper that was the female rapper that was popular a few years back and looked normal, but now she's had a whole bunch of plastic surgery.
Oh, Little Kim.
Little Kim. Oh my God.
And she's...
And you look at that and you're like, whoa, that is like a drastic, like,
and of course she wears very flashy clothing and stuff to draw attention to herself, and that's similar to what's going on in the Capitol. You have this ostentatious lifestyle with opulence and riches. And
Okay.
I'm sorry, am I using too big?
Tone down the SAT words over there.
Everything's flashy.
Like
Everything's
Stephen Hawking.
Wait, if I could do a computer voice right now, I would, but I can't. But no, I mean, it's all flashy and wealth. They wear bright, colorful, like peacocking.
Yeah, peacocking.
Yeah.
It's all their clothes are super flashy, like
Right.
Caesar Flickerman has the suit with light bulbs on it. It's literally flashy.
Right.
The people that dye their hair and
Or their skin.
yeah, dye their skin different colors.
Right, because the one, was she a stylist?
I think she was a
specifically?
stylist.
Octavia.
Octavia.
Well, she was a stylist under Cinna. She was one of the people working on Katniss, one of the three, and her skin was notably dyed green.
Yeah. And that's just
and that was made her more beautiful.
Yeah, it was quote unquote the style. It was
Right.
the new thing to do. Is everybody was permanently dyeing their skin.
Getting facial tattoos, things like that. But not we're not talking about like Mike Tyson-esque facial tattoos.
Yeah.
We're talking about
Skulls and crossbones.
sort of like filigree and things, really ornate,
really
beautiful.
Yeah. Not tribal stuff like
No.
like fleur-de-lis and stuff like that.
Right.
Really fancy.
It's all meant to be really, really beautiful. And that
I butchered that French word, by the way.
I'm not even going to try to say it, even though I took French in school, because I will butcher it as well.
Okay.
But yeah, there's just such a stark contrast between the rich and the poor. It's also the haves and the have-nots. The districts are
with like the wealth and
wealth, food.
Yeah.
You don't have...
Like in District 12, it was, like they said in the book, it was not uncommon for people to just starve to death because there wasn't food.
Right.
And then in the capital, I mean, obviously they got on the train and there was just every type of food imaginable.
Right.
On a train.
Right. Yeah, just on the train on the way to the capital.
Yeah.
Let alone
getting to the capital and having literally the little push button thing. I want a hamburger. Boom, there's a
right,
hamburger.
It would pop up in her...
Hamburger's a bad idea.
Well, she did a lot of bread and stuff.
Yeah, she did breads, and she did the stew that she really liked.
Right.
And
but
plum
basically,
sauce or whatever.
Anything she had wanted, she could have pushed that button and said, "This is what I want to eat," and it would have showed up to
a few seconds later. It's
right.
not even like room service now, where you call down to the kitchen and say, "I want pasta," and like 20 minutes later, a plate of pasta shows up.
Right. This was near instantaneous.
They had the food ready to go.
Right. And this is the lifestyle that is the capital. It's excess. There's no want for money. There's obviously no want for food. And in the districts, you definitely have that. Now, this isn't a theme, but it is a good time to interject the fact with food is Tesserae.
Yeah. Yeah, Tesserae is also something that's very important in the book, and it sucks.
It does. It really sucks.
God,
and
sucks.
It's sort of born because of the inequity between the classes.
It's the necessity. Well, it's two things in my mind. It's the necessity that people want more food because they're starving.
Not just want, they need.
Well, okay.
But yes.
That's the wrong phrasing, but you knew what I meant.
Yes.
They need more food. The oil is nice because it helps heat their homes.
Right.
And cook the food.
Right.
And in addition, it gives the capital a kind of a boost to seeing people in the games, more likely to see a contender in the games that has had a hard life.
Right.
Because the only people that take Tesserae are people that have hard lives.
Right, the starving and the poor.
And because of the Tesserae, their name is in the lotto drastically more than anybody else's.
Right, because Tesserae stacks.
Yeah. How much did what's-his-face have?
At the end, when he was 18, Gale had his name in 42 times.
Yeah.
Because you have your name in once each time for every year between 12 and 18.
Right.
So
Stacking.
So, and then Tesserae he took for his...
One for each person in your family.
And there was 5 people that he was taking Tesserae for, including himself.
Each year, stacking.
So that's the whole, may the odds be ever in your favor. It was not in the favor of the poor.
Oh, God,
and those were the people that were going into the arena.
And they always were, just because that's just the way the Capitol set it up.
And that's not to say you couldn't have the one-off. I mean, obviously, Prim's name was in there once and it got drawn.
Yeah.
Of course, that kind of stuff happens.
Sure.
But the likelihood of it really is astronomical. Because the more times your name is in the bowl, obviously...
The odds are definitely not in your favor.
And that's what really sucks about Tesserae, is it's this thing that it's keeping the citizens alive barely, but also punishing them. And you can only get Tesserae if you were between the ages of 12 and 18 and eligible for the games.
Yeah, before you're 12, you can't get it, and after you're 18, you're expected to feed your family with your living, like by mining coal for the rest of your life, which obviously they don't pay the people very much for mining their coal anyway.
No. Of course. So the whole class is being really...
It's not even... You can't even say it's like black and white. It's worse than that.
Yeah, the saying the classes are unequal is feels like an understatement, because it's well beyond that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
But then that's the Capitol, and
they feel entitled to it primarily because of the initial uprising, like 70-something years ago.
But what I was saying is politics is also another really big theme in there. The Capitol being, I mean, it's a totalitarian...
Yeah, it's a dictatorship,
society,
basically.
Where the Capitol is the final and only word, and the citizens have no choice.
Exactly. There's no voting.
God, no. God, could you imagine? The Capitol would stand no chance if the citizens were allowed to vote.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what they'd end up doing is the Capitol would probably be saying stuff like, well, the Capitol, all the citizens get a vote, and each district gets one vote.
Yeah, total.
Yeah, total. So, like, District 12, you get one vote.
Right.
So there's 12 versus, like, 8 million. Oh,
right. And, of course,
win.
The people in the Capitol are happy. I mean, wouldn't you be if I lived in the Capitol?
You're wealthy beyond imagination. You have all the food you could possibly want ever.
Your children don't have to go into the arena, and you have great entertainment every year.
Yeah, and that's something that also is... It bothered me a lot, was the fact that the Capitol citizens look at these games, as they call it, as the ultimate form of entertainment. They're excited to watch 15-year-old kids running around butchering each other to death.
It's definitely...
It's disgusting.
It's disturbing. It's very hard to even imagine.
I know.
I mean... I cannot even fathom, I mean, at my age right now, but I couldn't imagine when I was in high school or when I turned 12 years old, had my name been called, because I have that kind of luck. I would have been chosen. Yeah. I would have gone in the arena.
And I would have been, unfortunately for you, I would have been the Gale of the group. I would have been... 18 years old with my name in the pot 968 times.
Yeah,
and not get called.
Not got called. I would have my name in once and get called.
They're like, capricious.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just like, damn it.
I can't even imagine being that young.
I know. It's ugh.
And knowing that it's entertainment. I mean, that's the whole point of it. I mean, I know it's not like it's meant just as entertainment. It's a form of punishment. That goes back to the Capitol being, I don't want to keep saying totalitarian, but it is. It can do what it wants with its citizens, and that's a way of showing you we can do what we want. We have full control over you. We can force your children to fight to the death because of past, quote-unquote, atrocities against the Capitol.
Yeah. And then you've got the whole... Another thing that kind of throws you through a loop is you're being told all this stuff about the Capitol, and us as outside viewers of this are looking at it like it's disgusting. But when Katniss gets there, she's, for lack of a better phrase, a little excited. I mean, it's not really excited. It's like she's reveling in the idea of, look at all the food and nice stuff I get to enjoy before I die,
I think that's more what it is. I don't think that she's like, yay, I'm in the Capitol.
Well, yeah, of course not.
Woohoo,
I got chosen.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, there's this harsh reality that her family back home is probably going to die without her.
Yeah, well, she's going to die without them.
Right. And they're going to have to watch her die. That's horrific.
Yeah. They're going to be forced to watch me get butchered.
I think one of the things that she's sort of accepted her fate.
Yeah.
She's going to try to make the best out of a terrible, terrible situation. So she doesn't, she doesn't fight them when they come in to pluck and wax and do everything. That's one of the things I went back and read. And when she first meets Cinna, she sits there and she's naked. And her first instinct was to reach for her robe. And she was just like, he's going to make me remove it anyways. Just let him look and
do what he wants to do.
Basically, yeah. He's going to be like, this looks good. This doesn't look good. Like she's already had done to her.
Right.
So there is a definite accepting of fate.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, going back to the inequity between classes, is there's an acceptance of your fate. You were born in District 12. She was born in the seam. She was going to die in the seam.
She's always accepted it.
She's always accepted that fate.
That's why
all
she mentions...
she's ever done is just tried to survive and exist.
That's why she mentions a few times, I'm never going to have kids.
Right.
I don't even think I'll get married because I don't want to put my children through... First off, I don't want to put my children through living in the seam.
Right.
Secondly, I don't want to put my children through the stress of having to live through the Hunger Games.
Right. And everyone has that acceptance of fate because the tributes, the children that are chosen, minus the careers who volunteer.
Of course. You
have to accept your fate of, I'm going in the arena, I'm going to die. PETA especially accepted his fate. He knew 100% he's not coming out alive. He
was just like, well, I'm screwed.
Right. And that's
when his mom said, maybe we'll have a victor from District 12 this year, and he immediately realized she wasn't talking about me.
Right. And it really sucks that there's just, I can't, I can't imagine, growing up the way I did. You can make something of your life. I could go out there and change my circumstances, or at least try to.
Sure.
And you can't do that there. The only people that sort of, I guess, could are the people from the capital. But, they're living this lavish, luscious life.
Why would you want to change your life at that point?
You
don't have to do anything for the rest of your life.
No.
And you get all the money and food
I have to decide what color do I want to dye my hair today. Purple,
oh, God,
pink.
It's such an inconvenience.
Should I dye my skin? Should I make it look better?
It's like, should I punch you in the face? Maybe that's just me, but...
So... and this kind of leads into, again, talking about the capital and their citizens. One of the big themes I feel is the importance of appearance. Appearance is huge in the book.
Yeah.
Again, you have the difference between how crazy the citizens look, the capital citizens versus the district citizens. But even more so, once Katniss gets to the capital, and not just Katniss, all of the tributes.
Yeah.
They, the first thing they do is wash them and clean them and pluck them and wax them and do everything under the sun.
Make them look pretty.
To make them look pretty. They're trained in speaking and things because they're going to be interviewed, and it's all about making them look the best they can to the citizens of the capital.
Because they've got our own sponsors.
Right.
And that's something else that Katniss... And Katniss isn't good at it, but Katniss understands the concept behind it.
Right.
Katniss and PETA kind of get into the act of, we need to figure out a way to earn all these sponsors so that we have a better chance of surviving longer in the games.
Right. And Katniss certainly doesn't fight against them primping her and making her look better and putting makeup on her and making her wear high heels and things.
Flaming dresses.
Right. She doesn't fight any of that because she knows that appearance is important.
Yes.
She knows that the way she acts is important, even if she has difficulty with it.
That's why she doesn't cry back in District 12 when she has to step forward. Well, not when she has to, but when she does step forward and volunteer for her sister.
Right, because she mentions that she knows that all the other tributes are going to watch the reaping.
They're going to watch the reaping. And not only that, but they're going to watch the opening ceremony. Well, all the other tributes are there for the opening ceremony, but
everything is being watched.
Yeah.
What she's doing is being, scrutinized by everyone, not just the capital citizens that might say, well, I don't want to sponsor her. Look at her blubbering and crying. Clearly,
right, exactly. She's weak, and she'll be one of the first ones down.
And then, of course, the other tributes will go, we can easily kill her, so let's just get that out of the way.
Right, right.
Those sorts of things.
We'll go ahead and cull the herd now.
Right. So appearance is huge. It's everything.
Yeah.
It really is.
So.
And then there's no real, I don't feel like we have a good transition into this.
No.
But the other theme that is huge throughout the book is love.
Yeah. I mean, love for...
There's all kinds of different kinds of love in there. You have...
well, you've got familial love, which is with her sister. Not so much with her mom.
No.
She's very...
She loves her mom, but she's also angry at her mom.
She doesn't rely on her mom for anything.
No.
Because she's never been able to, really.
Right. And along with familial love, Gale falls in that category because Gale to her is like family.
Yeah, she looks at Gale as though he was like a brother or a cousin or something like that.
Yeah, I think she says that she feels like he could be a cousin.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously he's her hunting partner, and it's not romantic or anything. These are two people that came together because of their circumstances.
Out of necessity.
Right.
They were able to assist each other to gather more food and provide better for their families.
But I think there's definitely a bond there, and I think there's love, even if she specifically doesn't realize what kind of love it is. It's sort of like the love I have for Frank. I feel like Frank is my brother. That's familial love to me.
Right.
But, you know, it's different than how I love you or things like that. And she may not realize it, but, I don't love you like a brother. Weird. But I think
Thank God.
that would be gross. But, you know, she definitely has a different kind of love for, say, Prim than she does for Gale. But it's still love.
Sure.
It's absolutely still love. And
she most definitely does not love Buttercup.
Buttercup does not love her. That is definitely mutual hate. But I mean, you know, I think, you know, for the love of her family, she tried to get rid of Buttercup the way she thought would be best.
There's also a similar amount of love between her and Cinna.
There is. You know, I think that because in the capital so far, he's been the only one that really treated her like a person.
Yeah. Not
just a tribute, someone to, like a doll, someone to dress up and put on display.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He was actually concerned, like, how do you feel? I bet I watched the reaping. I bet that must have been hard. He was actually concerned for her.
Right.
And it was a shock to actually see someone from the capital be compassionate.
Right, because you have someone like Effie, who to me, I like Effie, don't get me wrong.
She's nice, but she's also a little ditzy.
She is the epitome of what a capital citizen is. She's very, oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for? Self-centered.
Well, yeah, she's
conceited a little bit.
Yeah, she thinks it's a huge, oh my God.
It's an honor.
Aren't you so honored to be chosen for the games? It's going to be awesome. And you're thinking to yourself, woman, I've got a 1 in 24 chance of winning.
But she's positive, and she flutters and flitters, and, oh, isn't it great? And here's all the kinds of food we can have. And I hear her in my mind just being this. I mean, I pictured her differently. Like, I pictured her to be a bit chubby. I don't know if they talked about, you know, that, but...
Her stature, yeah. I don't think that was mentioned in the book necessarily.
But in my mind, I made her, you know...
A little chubby.
A little, you know...
I have to be honest, even though...
Rubenesque.
Yeah, even though I watched the movie prior to reading the book... I still, when I read through the book, I didn't picture what's-her-face, the actress.
I don't know what her name is, but yeah, I didn't.
I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I bet you anything after we're done recording, I'll go, this was her.
Yeah.
But, I didn't picture her. I pictured a lady similar size to her, but maybe a little chunkier. Because most people...
fed and, right.
Yeah. Most people in the capital are, you know...
there's not a lack of...
There's no lack of food.
No. And I'm not saying this in a negative way, like they're overweight. I'm just saying that the picture in my head was different.
The actress that played her was incredibly thin.
But anyways, the point is that Effie is really a epitome of what a capital citizen is, and Cinna just was... I felt like he could have just come from one of the districts.
Yeah.
He was so down to earth and so sweet and caring, and I felt there was definitely this friendship between him and Katniss.
Yes, absolutely. There was concern.
There was absolute concern.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was concerned for her because this is my first year being a stylist and I would love for my tribute to win so that I can become famous.
Yeah.
It was, I feel sorry for you and I really wish you hadn't gotten chosen.
Right.
You know?
And I think it's really great. You know, it's very, it shows there's love. I mean, the Capital citizens are obviously capable of it, but you have too many that are like Effie that don't necessarily know.
They're not seeing it the same way that the people from the districts do.
Right. And then, of course, you can't overlook the love between Peeta and Katniss.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't necessarily label it like she was in love with him because...
Well, that's why you said the love between Peeta and Katniss and not necessarily the love between Katniss and Peeta.
Peeta obviously loved her.
Yeah, because you find out...
had deep feelings for her, at least.
You find out at a certain point in the book that, as far as we all know, his love has been legitimate the whole time.
Right.
Even though she's
from a very
doubted
young
it.
age.
Yeah, from like 10 or 11, at least.
Yeah.
Because it was before she could sign up for Tesserae.
It was 11. Yeah, it was. I think it was. She mentioned it was a few weeks shy of being able to sign up for it when he gave her the bread.
Yeah.
And you know, he risked a beating. He got a beating.
Yeah, he didn't risk it.
Right, yeah, but he did it knowing.
Yeah,
that's the
he
point.
knew exactly what he was doing.
Right. So don't tell me there wasn't love and compassion even at that young age for her, and it's continued. And granted, like you said, she definitely distrusted his motives. But I mean, that's understandable. He is the fellow tribute. He's the enemy, so to speak.
Yeah.
But everything was done with love. And I think you can definitely see a lot of the love that she started to have for him, even though...
Towards the end, yeah.
Yeah, she may not have known, specifically like when she washes him in the river.
Yeah.
And cleans his wound, even though she talks about
earlier in
not
the book,
having the stomach for it.
When she was younger, she couldn't be in the house when her mom and Prim were working on people. No. And now she's... You know, she's rinsing out this sword wound that goes down to the bone. Yeah, because she doesn't want him to die. And I mean, she mentions that it's a little gut-wrenching to her then.
Right.
But she thought like this, normally this would be a lot worse, but I'm actually able to handle it.
Right. And then in the cave, taking care of him, and obviously when he took care of her, there's obviously no denial of the love he has for her.
And then when they kiss.
Yeah, and I know that the kiss was forced in the beginning.
Yeah. But she does mention that it made her feel strange.
Right.
And she doesn't necessarily go into why, because she's not sure why. But it made her feel different.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's... She loves him. Even if she won't admit it or she doesn't really know what that feeling is.
Yeah.
And especially... because I don't think she wants to love anyone. I mean,
that's part of it.
You know, she doesn't want to allow herself to become that close to someone that she would love that isn't, say, her mom or her sister.
Exactly. Somebody that may or may not expect things from her later in life, you know, that kind of thing.
But love is certainly shown throughout the entire book. I mean, different kinds.
Also, the fact that Peeta doesn't want her to go back to the cornucopia to get the medication. He's like, I don't want you to go because you'll get killed. I'd rather just die.
Right.
So that you don't have to risk your life.
Right. He's willing to. That again shows a lot of his love for her, is that he's willing to just sacrifice himself so she doesn't have to die.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a very strong love that he has for her. But probably because he's been harboring it for so long.
Sure, of course.
So.
You can't really hold that against him there.
No. Any other themes or?
Well, I mean, there's the speed at which the book comes at you.
Well, that's a lot of what we talked about in the beginning, the pacing of the book.
Yeah.
But definitely, as you're reading it and as you're seeing all of these scenes of like her volunteering or her being trained or the arena.
None of it seemed to drag on.
No, there was not a lack of action.
Yeah.
Even when you're just hearing the story about Peeta giving her the bread, there's this driving momentum in the book.
Yeah, it's good enough to keep your interest the entire time and not so droning that you're like, oh my god, just get on with it already.
Right. There was never a lull for me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also part of the reason that you and I both just burned through all 3 books.
Yeah.
In like a month and a half. You read them a lot faster than I did.
Yeah,
but,
which made it very difficult because I wanted to talk about them. And I'd be like, where are you in the book? Where are you in the book? And I wanted, every time you came home from work, I was like, let's talk.
I think I had just gotten done with book 2 by the time you finished the whole series.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm a full book behind. You gotta wait.
Yeah, I fell in love with the series. I fell in love.
We're going to do the other 2 books, by the way, for those interested.
But the pacing definitely helped for me.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've read the last series I read was the Harry Potter series. And although those books were great, and we all know I'm obsessed with Harry Potter, but the pacing is very different in those.
Blushing.
Am I? Oh, Harry Potter. No, I'm hot.
Oh.
Which sounds bad. I'm not hot and bothered for
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. I'm still, and my voice is starting to get affected now. I know my surgery was a while ago.
But I mean, you.
But I'm still really affected by it. Obviously, last night I was
sick again.
I was very sick, and I get overheated really quickly. My voice gets raspy really quickly since I had the tube down my throat. So I do apologize for my voice right now. I'm sure some of you will really love the raspiness. I hate it.
I love it.
So anyways, back to the topic at hand and not my love for Harry Potter.
We've got a few characters we want to touch on specifically. Obviously, we've already touched on Cinna.
Yeah, we both really love Cinna.
Yeah, Cinna is awesome. Right. And we both pretty much love Caesar Flickerman.
I absolutely love him. I adore Caesar Flickerman.
I think he's a cool character, and I appreciate him.
I adore him.
I don't necessarily go to the extent of saying I love Caesar Flickerman, but
I do. I do. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, there's a little bit of me that's slightly grossed out by him too, just because of
his appearance.
The fact that they specifically state that he's been the host of the games for a substantially long length of time. Not the whole time, obviously, but for an extended period of time. And yet they do mention that his physical appearance has not changed in that entire length of time. So he's getting lots of plastic surgery done.
Right.
And
that whole, where you see in the movie Stanley Tucci, where he has that horrible, ridiculous smile and his teeth look really capped and it looks
fake,
weird and fake. That's perfect. It's so perfect. And I mean, I'm not loving Caesar Flickerman for his appearance. I just love him for his character because, I mean, granted, obviously he's
his moral character.
His moral character, I guess. I know he's a capital citizen and all those sorts of things, but what I really love is his unbiased way of dealing with all the tributes, because they talk about he's able to go in when he's interviewing the tributes and bring out the absolute best of them so that he makes them the star and he makes the Capitol love every single tribute.
Yeah.
Each as much as the next, regardless of things.
Exactly.
I mean, you take someone like Thresh, who was very quiet and didn't want to talk or do those, or, really
and rude
be interviewed.
Too.
Well, no, I mean, specifically like the characters that don't want to be, Rue was very shy.
Yeah.
And she was very,
but I mean, Thresh was basically silent.
Right, and he still interacted and made jokes, and his job obviously is to show off the tributes.
To draw out their personalities.
Right, but he really seemed to just revel in it and enjoy it and be really good at it.
Like it was fun for him.
Right.
Yeah. And not like it's a game for him, but like it's something he truly enjoys is getting the people that are shy or afraid to actually come out of their shell, look positive, because it's always the positive stuff he pulls out of them.
Oh yeah, he's not ever focusing on anything bad.
No, and I mean it's really helpful to all of them. I mean, even though some of them probably don't get any sponsors out of it still, but I mean,
of course,
it's helpful to some extent.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, he tries his best. And I know that, of course, he's one of the capital citizens that enjoys the games for the spectacle, which is shitty. But I just think, I don't know, I just have a very big affinity for him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then on a side note, we were just talking about Rue.
You adore Rue. I mean, I love her. Granted, it's hard. How could you not? But I know that you really attached.
I did attach to Rue a lot. And again, like I mentioned earlier, of course, I ended up watching the movie before I read the book. Huge mistake. I mean, not huge, but I mean, that is the huge mistake people tell you not to do.
Right.
In this particular case, it was pretty damn accurate considering, but so, I mean, I knew the outcome of what was going to happen with Rue in the book, and I knew when it was about to happen, but when it happened in the book, it still almost made me cry. I teared up at it because I was like, I love her so much more. There were stories in the book that weren't displayed right in the movie.
Well, of course, like the bonding between her and Katniss.
Yeah, it went on longer in the book.
You really felt her innocence a lot more in the book.
Yeah.
And certainly in the movie, obviously, it was what it was, you know.
Well, they were limited on time, of course.
Right.
But it's just the bond that they made, and the fact that it's the whole concept of Katniss looking at Rue as though Rue were Prim.
Right.
And treating her like a little sister, taking care of her, trying to keep her safe, and then completely failing at the end.
Yeah. That was certainly a very, very difficult scene, Rue's death, as well as Katniss's reaction to it, because Katniss
she flipped.
She lost it. And I lost it in a sense as well, because you really felt the emotions in the book. They were very
palpable.
Palpable. Thank you. I was like, I know the word I want to say, but I don't. I panicked.
And when the thing that hit me the most out of the book after Rue's death, spoiler alert.
Well,
yeah, I know. Too late now. After Rue's death was the bread.
Yes.
The role that obviously District 11 sent her.
Right. And that was so impactful.
Oh, God. It was heart-wrenching because you realize that all the citizens of District 11 probably pooled all their money together to buy one role and send it to Katniss just as a thank you.
Yeah, how many were going to go hungry?
Yeah.
For a few days or a week or whatever.
Yeah, just to send a thank you. You know, thank you for treating Rue with respect and giving her
love
giving her a proper, not funeral, but a sending off.
Right. I'm getting goosebumps.
I know. I always do.
I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it.
When I watch the movie, like, because we watched the movie again after reading the book too.
Yeah.
And I watched the movie again, and I got goosebumps then too, and I was like, oh man,
that's definitely
sucks.
For me. It's a scene that's incredibly hard to watch, but it's so well done.
Oh yeah.
In both the movie and in the book. And
yeah.
The book is, like I said, it's very impactful, and her getting the bread and knowing what it means and what it cost them.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for it not to affect you.
Yeah.
Any other characters you really love, or you can think of that you?
I
mean, there are characters, of course, we like. Like, I liked Effie. She was okay.
I liked Haymitch.
Haymitch was okay. He was,
Haymitch for me was a comic relief to a certain extent.
Yeah, a bit.
I mean,
when he falls off the stage,
yeah.
Effie's just so
mortified.
And just annoyed with him. Like, oh, of course he's drunk and making a spectacle and ruining her, time on camera and.
But I mean, he is also a bit of a hard ass, and there's a little bit of you that looks at him and goes, God, man, you don't have to be such a douche about this.
Yeah.
But you do realize that, or at least I got the feeling deep down that he cares, at a certain extent.
Of course.
And you kind of get that feeling when Katniss starts mentioning that he's sending me a message by not sending me these sponsor
Right.
gifts.
If he didn't care, he wouldn't have even bothered.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and I mean, like people like Prim, of course, everyone loved Prim. She was, I don't think that I necessarily loved her, but I know that, like, I don't mean like everyone, like readers, I mean like people in the scene loved her.
Yeah, people in District 12 loved her. What about characters that you liked other than that?
Well, like I said, I mean, obviously Rue and Caesar Flickerman for me are huge. I don't know that I necessarily had a love for anyone else per se.
So, yeah.
But, I mean, characters we hate might be different.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little, and we disagree on this, so this will be interesting for people.
I'm smirking at you. Because I completely disagree with your outlook on this.
I don't hate the career tributes. I actually don't even necessarily dislike them, although I understand why you would. Do you want me to tell you why I don't dislike them first, or would
Sure.
you like to? Okay. His arms are folded. He is in, like, I'm not even gonna.
What? No.
Your opinion? No.
Your opinion is wrong.
Yeah.
Nobody, but my teacher said nobody's opinion is wrong. Well, yours is.
Yeah. For me, like I said, I understand how easy it would be to hate the career tributes. They're brutal. They're arrogant. They go in expecting to win. I mean, their brutality alone is horrific. I mean, they kill without emotion.
You're making all the arguments I'm going to use against you.
You're making this easy. Here is my thing. They are a complete product of their circumstances. They did not have a choice in this from when they were super young. I mean, I don't know if they say an age that they're plucked from their family, so to speak. I mean, they're not taken away from their families, but that they're quote unquote chosen, but they're trained, they're hardened. They really had they didn't know anything else except being thrown into this lifestyle. They were raised to be brutal. They were raised to be uncaring and cocky and arrogant and all of those things from really young ages. I really don't think that they stood a chance to be good human beings. And I know that that may not excuse their behavior and attitudes and things, but I guess because I look at it as being, like I said, them being a product of their circumstances, as much as Katniss is a product of hers. Her attitude, what she does, is because she was born in the scene, because she lost her father. She had no other choice but to become this pragmatic girl who hides her emotions. And I feel that way about the careers. I feel like they never had a chance to be good people. Look at your face, Now you understand my side of the argument.
Yeah, I do, but I still don't like them.
It's fine.
Fuck them.
And that's fine. Like I said,
I look at it from the aspect, I mean, granted, the three main things you brought up, their brutality, their cockiness, their arrogance, their teaming up that they have. I mean, these people are superior to the other tributes in every way, shape, and form, and yet they still team up with each other.
Right, which is unnecessary.
And then you're like...
And they hunt. They go out specifically hunting the other tributes
like,
to kill.
Oh my god, you don't have to be such a douche about this.
It's overkill, it really is.
But I see your point of the argument.
Yeah.
But I didn't look at the careers from the aspect of this was kind of forced upon them at a young age. I thought of it more as this was a choice they made. I would like to be a career. And I'm like, all right, so you're here at 6 or 7 years old, and you're already a little dipshit.
I don't...
Little tiny short douchebag.
And see, I didn't see it that way. I think that for me personally,
Look at that guy on TV. He's such a badass. I want to be just like him.
See, and I didn't really feel that. I felt like...
You saw it more of an aspect like they were taken.
They were chosen,
and forced to train.
Look at this little kid who's play fighting, or comes from a family that's already had winners, or has, a good amount of money and stuff and can afford the training or things like that. Because there's not a lot known about, obviously it's not legal for them to train these children.
But the capital looks the other way because it's good entertainment.
But we don't know if they have to pay money to do it or how they're chosen.
Right.
But I guess in my mind, I just pictured it as it being these children being plucked away from their families. They're just a little douchebag. It reminded me of and this is sort of a well-known thing with Chinese Olympians.
Oh, the Chinese gymnasts and stuff like that.
Where they're taken from their families
at like 2.
Yeah, and they're.
Oh.
Do you think that they wanted to be gymnasts and wanted to have that kind of training
No.
and that life? And that's the way I guess I looked at it. I never even considered the fact that maybe at age 8 or 9, when they're old enough and really understand. I mean, more or less.
At that age, there's a certain level of understanding of I want to be a douchebag.
Well, they would have morals at
Sure.
that point. You would know the difference between right and wrong. You would know that becoming a career means you're either going to die or you're going to murder
lots of people
to be the victor.
Yeah.
So you're going to know what that means.
But regardless, as a career, you're going in anticipating that you are at the very least going to make it to near the end.
The final 4 or
yeah,
so,
something like that. And you're just, for a good portion of the game, you're going to be a murderer.
Right.
And you've got to be okay with that.
And I mean, obviously, if it's what you pictured it as being, where they chose to be careers, then yeah, I guess I could see how that would be incredibly shitty, because I can't imagine being, 8-year-old capricious going, I want to murder people and I want to be the victor.
Yeah.
I guess I just pictured it as, 4-year-old capricious being
taken away,
kicking and screaming, but being forced to
train.
Toughen up and train.
Yeah. It really depends on the outlook of how they were raised. And I mean, it may be a little bit of both.
Right.
It may be sometimes they're taken away, sometimes they want to do it, sometimes they're forced. And so, I mean, it may not necessarily mean that all careers fall into the same category.
Right.
But maybe some fall into one category and some fall into another. So I can kind of see it from that aspect too.
But I mean, I know that it was definitely would be very easy to hate
Cato.
Well, I was thinking Marvel, because Marvel is the one that killed Rue.
Oh, well, yeah, Marvel. Well, I mean, Marvel got his comeuppance, like, almost instantly.
Yeah, an arrow to the throat is pretty good comeuppance.
Yeah. Just like insta-kill.
But no, I definitely...
Headshot.
It's funny, because towards the end, even though I didn't hate the careers as a whole, I hated Cato. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I did not like him.
Well, he was the most arrogant out of all of them throughout the whole book.
Yes. I really just...
He was just a huge jackwagon.
Yeah. And, I mean, granted, the way he died was horrible, and...
Ugh. Well, see, that's the one thing at that part of the book I was like, I felt bad for him right then.
Yeah. And that's the only time I did, is because his suffering was so...
For those of you who haven't read the book and only watched the movie, the suffering at the end of the book of Cato is much worse than in the movie. It's like 12 hours, give or take.
Yeah, because
it's
they
all
go
night
through...
long and into the morning.
Right.
So it's between 8 and 12 hours of just dying.
Right. And the mutations being there, sort of
chewing on
him. And granted, I mean, he had the body armor because the Capitol sent...
Yeah, so that he could deal with Thresh.
Right.
I still want to know what Thresh got.
We don't know what Thresh got. We don't know what Foxface got. We know that, of course...
Foxface got... was she the one that got poisoned?
Yes.
Okay. Foxface got poisoned.
That wasn't at the hands of the Capitol.
Sure, of course not, but
we
still.
know that PETA got the syringe that had the medicine in it to heal him.
Yeah.
And Cato got body armor, which
is a huge unfair advantage.
Obviously, at that point, you realized the Capitol wanted him to win. The game makers wanted him to win.
They had basically chosen their champion
their
at
victor.
that point.
Yeah. But yeah, the scene with Cato dying, for me, it was so hard to read that part in the book, because they talk about him, the whimpering and it just...
Gurgle. The part that got it for me was the gurgling. It's the fact that Katniss heard him choking on his own blood, and he
still wasn't dying.
Yeah, he lasted a long time.
So her choosing to end his misery, I was glad.
Yeah.
I don't feel that was out of character for her. I think it was her, like I said, putting him out of his misery. It was so necessary.
And leading off of that, that's one scene from the book that I missed in the film was the ending when Katniss and Peeta got picked up.
Yeah.
And they were both in the hovercraft, and Katniss
loses it.
Yeah, flipped her shit.
That's another really good example of that. She really did care about Peeta.
Yeah.
There was definitely love there when she freaked out because
her mind.
She wasn't sure because, of course, Peeta is bleeding profusely because of the gash on his leg.
Yeah.
And she thinks he's going to die.
Plus, when they grab onto the ladder leading up to the thing, and then they electrify the ladder, instantly his leg starts spurting
blood like crazy.
Yeah, and she's looking at it. Of course, she can't move because it's electrified, but she's looking at it. She's like, "Crap, he's gonna die."
And she does not want to lose him.
Yeah.
And there's that definite feeling of there is love, whether she admits it or not. Because she doesn't know, is the Capitol going to punish them? Are they going to go and kill Peeta and be like, well, he didn't survive. I mean, what are they going to do?
Exactly.
So yeah, there's definitely.
So were there any specific scenes that you really, really enjoyed?
Scenes that I really enjoyed.
Or didn't enjoy? I mean, obviously, some of them have already gone over.
Well, you know, obviously I didn't enjoy the scene with Rue.
Of course.
Although I can't say that I enjoyed Katniss losing it, but what I appreciate with that scene of her losing it, either, you know, after Rue's death or when they picked her and Peeta up, what I appreciated about those scenes is you finally got to see
her. Yeah.
You got to see this raw emotion that for so long she had kept hidden and under wraps.
It makes her more real because
it does.
They may be slight over exaggerations of a real emotion, but when you consider that she's lived her entire life with the inability to express her emotions anywhere.
Right.
Then seeing her explode at Rue's death and in the hovercraft when they separate her and Peeta was completely understandable.
Yeah, and it was so real and visceral.
Yeah. You're like, I don't blame her in the slightest for losing it for a few.
And I mean, I really loved, one of the things I really loved is when her and Rue first teamed up and Rue's wearing those extra pairs of socks on her hands and stuff to keep her warm, and Katniss is like, you know, you can get under the...
Oh, under the sleeping bag.
And Rue's just like...
What?
Really? Like, she's just so innocent and moved by that.
You let me in the sleeping bag too?
Yeah, like, that's more than she could have ever
And then she just climbed in.
Yeah, and snuggled up immediately to Katniss and fell asleep, like, on her chest.
Yeah, that's another... Okay, I'm sorry. That's another thing that made me love Rue so much, is how well they
it was an instant bond.
They looked at each other and they were just like, friends, boom. That was it.
Yeah.
There was no...
Yeah. And I really felt like that was so sweet.
Yeah.
So similarly to when Katniss gives Rue the extra food.
Oh, yeah.
When they're talking and Rue is telling her about District 11.
Yeah.
I really liked that scene.
I loved all the scenes with Rue, but I think that's just because I loved Rue.
Yeah. Well, like I said, for me, it would be very difficult not to love Rue. I'm sure there are people out there that don't.
Yeah, that are like, Rue, lame.
You know, but
those aren't my friends.
Those aren't our kind of people.
Yeah,
it's sort of the difference between sort of you and me, like where I view the careers differently.
Sure.
You know, I'm sure there's someone that takes a different view of Rue, and
yeah,
I would invite them to explain why, the way I explained why I don't.
Maybe their thought is Rue made Katniss weak or something like that, but
you know. I can't necessarily... You know, the thing about it is, the book for me was so good that it's hard to just pinpoint a scene that I loved more than another, because I think there were just so many really great ones.
One of my favorite scenes is with... I can't pick a scene. I got one.
I know. But you and I have always been very different with that sort of thing.
Yeah. A couple of my favorite scenes actually happen in the in the Capitol when Katniss is there. Like, one of them that I find is hilarious is the one where she gets into the shower for the first time, and she doesn't know what she's doing, and she just like... starts pressing random buttons, and she's getting like all these foams sprayed on her in this boiling hot water, and she's like, ah, ha, ha. She's like freaks out. And then the one with her and Peeta up on the roof.
Oh, that's a very good scene.
Yeah.
Because Katniss had been so unsure of Peeta's motives.
Yeah, motives is better.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said loyalties.
But no, I mean that too, you know.
Like, is he loyal to the district, like her, because she's from the same district, or is he loyal just to himself?
Right.
That's more along the lines of what I meant.
Right. But she just wasn't sure what angle he was playing at.
Yeah.
You know, crying on the way to the train, being the one to clean up Haymitch on the train. You know, being so caring and kind. Confessing
his love to her in front of Caesar Flickerman, and of course she immediately thought that was, you bastard, you're trying to make me look weak.
Right. And so yeah, that moment on the roof when he's talking to her is definitely a very real moment where he talks about, and I don't exactly remember the exact quote, but the main thing he talks about, or he says, whereas he doesn't want the Capitol to change who he is. He wants to leave this...
I want to die being myself.
Right. And she didn't exactly understand that at the moment, but she understood it at the end when the Capitol was trying to force them to kill each other.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's not her. That's not who she is. She's not a murderer.
And that's not who Peeta is either.
Right. And then I think there was that understanding of the back to being on the roof. And it was just a very genuine moment for them.
Yeah, it was one of the first moments when she started thinking maybe Peeta isn't that bad. Maybe he's not as bad as I think he is. Then, of course, that was all outdone when he joined up with the careers during the arena.
Well, not just when he joined up with the careers. The moment she decided that, God damn it, she had been duped was when he decided to train alone.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was just like...
She was like,
liar! He had, he made me believe him up on the roof. He made, all of those things that, everything was so genuine.
And now he won't even train with me.
And now he won't even train with me. He's all about himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing him with the careers definitely hit.
That was the last nail in the coffin. That only just
drove it home.
There. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they announced later that two people could win as long as they were from the same district, and all that just went out the window.
Yep, gone.
Yep, gotta find Peeta.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, she was still Katniss. The arena didn't change who she was.
No.
And you can't say that for a lot of the other.
Oh God, tributes. There were a lot of people that were just monsters.
The careers.
Yeah, most.
Granted, they were arrogant and bastards outside of the arena, but actually going into it.
I feel like Thresh. For me, I really liked Thresh. I feel like Thresh was mostly himself. He struck me as the kind of guy that struck out for two reasons. He struck out for defense and for vengeance.
Yeah.
But he didn't strike out for murder. Because when he had Katniss pinned...
That's what I was saying. That was a scene you talked about that you really liked.
I love that scene.
When he had bashed in, of course, he did kill... Clove?
Clove is the female from District 2? Yeah, that would be her.
Yeah, that's Clove. Because he overheard her talking about having been taken apart and killing Rue.
Right.
But in the book, you really loved that scene, and go ahead and talk about that.
Well, yeah, because the scene in the book was so much more detailed because Thresh and Katniss actually had for lack of a better phrase, they had a very short conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it was enough for Thresh to realize that Katniss did care for Rue, and she tells him that she put flowers in her hair after she died, and that bread, District 11 sent her a roll of bread, and Thresh was like, I'll let you go, but if I see you again, I'll kill you.
Right, we're even.
Yeah, this is even, so I'm just going to run off.
But I think that's true. That really shows Thresh, although big and brooding, and I pictured him as being this really big, muscular guy.
Oh, yeah. The actor that played him was pretty much spot on for me.
Yeah. He was a good person. Morally, he was a good person. He was, I mean, granted, he was big and huge, and of course, he could have easily won the games, but he wasn't a killer. He struck me as one of those.
He struck me as one of those people that in real life was probably this big, huge, bulky dude, but that was a huge pushover in real life.
Yeah.
Was just the sweetest, nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Well, I mean, he lost it at the thought of Clove gloating over Rue's death.
Yeah. But I mean, that would make most... I mean, think of that. What if somebody was gloating over you that they had just... Or gloating over me that they had just murdered, like, a relative of yours, and you just, like, flip out? That would enrage me, you know? I would flip out and just crush their skull like he did.
What if it was my sister?
No comment.
Yeah, but no, I mean, obviously that was a scene you really loved in the book, and I really think that because Thresh was so quiet and he didn't say a lot, and he seemed very brooding,
and he never showed up in the book except in that scene.
I mean,
really.
they mentioned that he was quiet.
Well, sure,
and,
of course.
Those sorts of things.
They mentioned when he had his Caesar Flickerman interview that he didn't say much.
Right.
But
I think that, like you said, that really showed his character. It showed
his goodness.
That, that's sort of the difference between...
He wasn't just a career.
No, absolutely not. So...
Do you have anything else you want to cover?
I don't know. I mean, that seems pretty good.
I think that covers about it. So, yeah, thanks everybody for...
That was a very abrupt ending. Can I just say that, by the way?
Why?
Well, because you were like, is that it? I'm like, yeah, that's it. Okay, thanks everyone, bye! It just felt very abrupt. I'm sorry. He's giving me a look like, what do you want?
Yeah, now I'm like, how do I end it then?
Well, okay, how about...
Peace!
Yeah, how about this? Well, I guess that's all we have to say on the book. We don't know that there's anything else that we really need to discuss or nothing else that we can think of. But obviously, if you guys have more, if we left something out or didn't talk about something enough, let us know. Matt and I also talked about we were willing that if the comments call for it enough and you want us to discuss something else about the book, we're willing to make a second video. Of course, it would be very short. It might only be 5-10 minutes to touch on something or to elaborate on something. But I think for now, this is our opinion of the Hunger Games.
Yeah, what she said. But yeah, basically, that's basically what these videos are going to be like. Right. If you have any opinions or you would like us to change formats or anything, let us know what you think about it. We may not take any of it we'll take all of it into consideration, but we may not make any changes necessarily. We don't want to do book summaries.
Well, we would change it for the better, but as long as it doesn't compromise how we feel about approaching.
Sure.
Because obviously this for me was fun. I don't know that a completely 180ing and changing the format would be fun for me.
No. But minor alterations, like hey, you might think about doing this or something.
Right. That's all welcome. This is our first time doing it. Matt and I have only ever discussed books with each other. And obviously it's not this like, let's talk about characters we like and let's talk about the, what was
the overall theme of Act 3? Yeah, it's not
definitely,
stuff like that.
Definitely we don't do that, but...
I mean, we did end up mentioning most of this stuff, but...
Oh yeah, to each other. There was a lot of discussion of characters and scenes, but we never really talked about themes like the importance of appearance. We were just like, ooh, those people from the Capitol look crazy! You know, I mean, that was sort of the extent of things.
He's so cray-cray.
Yeah.
But, yeah, let us know what y'all think, and please share your thoughts.
Yeah, discuss in the comments.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.